And now it's time for another episode of What You Sipping On with local beer connoisseur Matt Stroh.
Hey everybody, and welcome. Thanks for tuning in to What You Sippin' On. As some of you may know, that this is the show that usually happens when we don't have an episode of Manstrosity for you guys. Any of you who are tuning in because of Manstrosity and wondering where are those new episodes, well, we have been working on those. The issue is we've run into some issues with recording equipment as well as hardware. Our audio interface for what we usually use to record the show kind of died on us because Apple no longer supports whatever we were using. And then the computer we were using has died because we had actually recorded a full show, but that never got released because of, what happened with that. So this week I'm bringing you an episode of What You Sippin' On, as well as one of my new shows, which is called Dramatic Readings. If you want, you can go ahead and check that out. That's brought to you by Manstrosity and Anonymous. Other than that, let's get into this. This week I actually don't have anything that I'm currently sipping on. I'm just going to go over a little bit of news and some things that I've had this weekend so far. So far in the news, Goose Island has so far basically just sold completely out. The brew pubs in Chicago used to still be owned by Goose Island. Those of you who do not know, Goose Island got bought out by like Anheuser-Busch or something like that a couple years ago. And so basically the only thing Goose Island related that was still owned were the brew pubs in the city. Those are no more. They are now owned 100% by Anheuser-Busch or AB InBev or whoever owns them. This means that Green Line Pale Ale, which used to only be found on tap in the city, is now out in bottles and probably soon cans across the nation. So good for people who have been to the city and want to try it. Bad for the people that live here and we're like, oh, let's have Green Line because, it's a Chicago-only thing, as well as the Fulton and Wood series, which was the series that Goose Island would do, where they would do something interesting and new, usually with something like, oh, let's do cucumber lager or something like that, and that would only be found on tap within the city limits. That is now another thing that they are putting in bottles and probably cans. So Goose Island, in my opinion, is pretty much officially dead. I was very disappointed when they first got bought out because it just doesn't really taste the same. Good for them, though. The owner founded afterwards a hard cider company that he has since also sold to whatever giant company owns them. In other news, if you live in Lakeview, this is one of the last few weeks of the burger joint Spritz Burger. They have lost their lease. They were a wonderful little brunch/dinner place, very creative in terms of like burgers and food like that. Basically, they lost their lease because a bunch of the buildings up here are getting torn down to make way for new development. So that means that they are going to be gone. They have decided not to renew their lease or seek a new lease anywhere else. So you have until March 13th, end of day brunch on March 13th to enjoy them if you've never been there and live in the Lakeview area of Chicago. Otherwise, this week, I actually had some Goose Island beer because even though they've sold out, I will still drink them. I had their summer sampler pack. It came with an experimental lager that was actually fairly good. It was very similar actually to a regular Coors or something, but a little more mixed with Sam Adams. Also in there that was interesting was the 4-Star Pils, which is just obviously a Pilsner, playing off the name of Chicago. It was fairly good, fairly light, nice and easy drinking. The entire summer sampler pack is actually rather nice and easy to drink, something that if you're going to the beach and you want something cheap and or familiar, please do pick that up and enjoy that. The only other big thing I have had this weekend was from Stone Brewing. Those of you who have listened to Manstrosity have probably heard me talk about Stone before on the What You Sippin' On segment on there. This week I had the brand new Americano Stout. It is a stout made with espresso beans. It's actually very, very flavorful. It's not really what I look for in a stout. This is more like a watery, it tastes a little more watery than what I usually expect from a stout. From me, stout I usually think of as being somewhat thick, syrupy, or a little bit creamy. This was a little more like watery, reminds me more of like a porter, but overall it was actually really, really good, very smooth, easy drinking. The espresso added nicely to the coffee flavors already present in a stout. So if you have the money, it is like 15 something, 16 something with tax out at Binny's in the Chicagoland area, as well as most likely at your local whatever liquor store anytime. Do check it out. If you are looking for a stout that is heavy and creamy, though, this really isn't as close to that, though they do have a chocolate stout that they recently came out with that is a throwback to one of their yearly anniversary beers. It is actually really nice, really smooth. It's like a imperial chocolate Russian stout, something like that. I would recommend picking that up. It's nice, creamy. It's got everything that I personally look for in a stout in terms of being sort of sweet yet chocolatey and bitter with a little bit of coffee. Other than that, I've had a lot of mimosas today because bottomless mimosas are something that apparently happen on brunch every Sunday. I just never do them. With that, please be on the lookout for new episodes from Manstrosity. We are still here. We are still working. We just have a lot going on right now in terms of personal life as well as technologically speaking, I suppose. We're looking into ways to work around our technical issues because, of course, if you're listening to this, that means I own my own stuff. And I could usually generally take that down and record where we normally record down in Pilsen. But since we're kind of outside on our scheduling this week, that will not be happening. So do stay tuned because hopefully next week or so we will have something going on in terms of hopefully having more show for you guys. So be on the lookout for that, as well as, like I said earlier, tune into Dramatic Readings, a new series that I mostly am doing in collaboration with Anonymous. If you want to know more about that, it's really just dramatic readings of blog and or Craigslist posts. We currently have 3 episodes up and are working on getting more. A lot of that just comes down to having the time to record and or edit, as well as work with other people in terms of production of it. But those should be coming out shortly. Hopefully there'll be more of those up later today, as well as more content when it comes to that. These might be coming more frequently as well as we're trying to expand all of our Manstrosity stuff. But otherwise, have a nice Sunday. Enjoy a nice brew and or wine and or whatever the fuck you care to enjoy. And tune into Manstrosity once we start having new episodes later on this year. Bigger, newer, better, with better sound, better guests, more topics, because as we've noticed, a lot of our stuff, a lot of our shit is being stolen by mainstream media. A lot of stuff we covered in year 1 is now being covered on new podcasts by famous people, which is great for us, not so great for, well, not so great for us, great for everyone else, and great for you guys. You guys can say you heard it here first. For any of our shows, please do leave comments, like suggestions, or email us at manstrosityradio@gmail.com. Manstrosity website coming later this year at manstrosityradio.com, or hit us up on Twitter or Facebook at It's Manstrosity on Twitter and Facebook, Manstrosity Radio. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Thank you for tuning in. Goodbye.